In Season 4, minions completely dominated the metagame. However, at the very end of the season, the top pick clear was actually taken by Bone Spirit. This is because Bone Spirit is able to guarantee overpower every single cast, meaning you can get all the Bone Spirit multipliers, all the Bone multipliers, and it can benefit from all the overpower multipliers. This is incredibly powerful, and in Season 5, it got even better. Blizzard tried to buff blood builds, but because they have no idea what's going on in the metagame, they actually accidentally buffed what was already our best build. On top of that, they nerfed all of our other builds. What you're looking at is an across the board 60% nerf to every single Necromancer build aside from Bone Spirit, which was already our best build, and it got about a 250% damage increase. This means Bone Spirit is leaps and bounds ahead of every single other build. What we're looking at is roughly 15 times as much damage with Bone Spirit than with even our second best build, which is likely to be maybe Minions, maybe Sever, something like that. But it doesn't matter, Bone Spirit's 15 times better, so you should never play another build. Now, if you know anything about last season, especially Bone Spirit, you'll know that at the time Bone Spirit was incredibly hard to assemble, but as part of these buffs, Bone Spirit is actually a bit easier to get online now, and what we're going to be talking about today is the overall engine of how Bone Spirit works. We're going to be talking about an early game version of the build that is much easier to get online. Now, you're not going to want to level with Bone Spirit, okay? You're going to want to start with a minion build, because minions are going to be very easy to get online, and they're going to be able to clear tormented bosses, or at least normal bosses. Maybe not tormented, you probably shouldn't take it to that level, but you can at least do the normal bosses, because what you really need is you need the Banshee's Lord Talisman, which is going to make it so after you spend 275 resource, your next core skill is guaranteed to overpower. And if you aren't familiar, the whole combo here is that when you cast Bone Spirit, it spends all of your resource. So if you can get to 275 resource, whenever you cast Bone Spirit, it will always overpower, right? That's the combo that we're looking for. So we're going to need a ton of maximum essence. We're going to need a ton of resource generation. And the other thing that we're going to need is a lot of cooldown reduction so that we can spam Bone Spirits. But back to the uniques real quick. We're going to want to play minions in the early game so that we can get access to Banished Lord's Talisman and Blood Moon Breaches, both of which luckily drop off of Duriel and on Duriel, so these are really easy to get access to. Once you get these two items, you can swap into Bone Spirit and start destroying everything. Before we can talk about Necromancer's best build for Season 5, we first have to talk about one of the best ways to code, which is today's sponsor, boot.dev. Now, if you don't know, I was actually a software developer, a backend developer, before I started doing YouTube and Twitch, so I have a lot of experience that can attest this is a good product. So with this product, you're going to learn backend development, Python and Go. So you're going to learn Python and Go in the context of backend web development, and what's great about it is it's an online self-paced and it's an RPG-style learning environment. It feels like an RPG game while you're learning to code, which is super sick. It's going to make coding a lot more fun and a lot more interesting. And you're going to get your hands on products right away, and you're going to start making things that are useful, and you're going to start making code that can run right away. Now, I can attest to this next point. Myself and a lot of my friends are software developers, or were, and the median salary for backend developers in 2023 in the US was $100,000. And you can make that work in remote. This is pretty sweet, and I can tell you myself, my boss and a lot of people I used to work with did not have college degrees. They were just developers, so you can get right in. And what's great is with this product, you're going to earn XP, you're going to get levels, achievements, and you're going to complete quests. And there's actually a leaderboard, which Diablo still doesn't have, so you can participate in that. So this is a really cool product. If you're interested in it, definitely check it out using our promo code, and you can get 25% off your first payment. If you're interested in boot.dev, check out a link for it in the description below and use promo code Goblin-Inc to get 25% off your first purchase. Now, Bone Spirit is definitely the best build in Season 5, but to fully understand it, we're first going to need to talk about stats, because this build has some serious essence problems it needs to have solved. We've already looked at the Banished Lord's Talisman, and you can see we need a 275 essence pool for this build to be fully functioning. We're also going to be able to refill that essence bar very quickly in order to get out the most amount of damage, and we're going to need enough cooldown reduction to be able to spam the Bone Spirits to be able to actually keep up with all this essence generation. So what that means is rolls on gear are very important. This is part of why this is a bad leveling build, but, aside from needing Banished Lord's Talisman and Blood Moon Breaches, you also need specific stats on gear. Now, keep in mind, these stats on gear are not nearly as precise as they used to be, but I want to tell you what they are so you can start getting them, and then we're going to talk about what makes them less precise. For starters, on the offhand, you need an offhand for the maximum essence roll and for the cooldown reduction. This is extremely important. And on your helmet, you can get maximum essence per second, and cooldown reduction. Now, you just want to get as many of these things GA'd as possible, specifically maximum essence and essence per second, followed by cooldown reduction. But we need to talk about essence per second. Essence per second gives you a decent amount of regen, but not that much, not as much as you would need. However, it works multiplicatively with the aspect of Torment. So the aspect of Torment increases your essence generation by 170% after you critically strike, which of course we're going to have a 100% crit chance. And then this 170% increase on essence generation applies to all of our resource generation on our gear. So that's how we're able to generate so much essence. On top of that, Bone Spirit itself generates essence, and there's a few other things, but that's the primary engine by which we refill our bar. Now, on our boots, we can also get essence per second, we get movement speed, we get ranks to Bone Spirit, but there's another option here, which is to run the Path of Trey-Ghoul. Now, the problem with Path of Trey-Ghoul is we aren't sure if these are still going to work. So here's the thing. On its own, it gives you 60 maximum essence, 2 per bone splinter, cast 30 bone splinters. But what we don't know is if these bone prisons that it spawns still count as minions. And the reason why that's so important is because of the Requiem aspect, where we get maximum essence for each minion we have out. Now, in Season 4, Bone Prison counted as minions, and in all previous seasons, but in Season 5 they claimed to have fixed this. However, it was not fixed on PTR, so this bug might still very well exist, which might make getting the essence cap even easier. But even if the essence cap is fixed with the boots, it's not a problem, because the Requiem aspect is 7 maximum essence per active minion. Then we're able to run Skeletal Defenders and Skeletal Mage's Cold, which will generate essence on each attack, and these two combined, in combination with the aspect of Occult Dominion, gives us 11 minions, so we're getting 77 essence from this. Big bump, right? This is going to get us much closer to that cap. And you can see how between rolls on gear, the Abuse of the Requiem aspect, Abuse of Torment, we can get these huge essence bars, huge amounts of resource generation, and we're able to spend it proccing the Banished Lord's Talisman and making every Bone Spirit overpower. Now, because we're trying to make the stat requirement as easy as possible, this mid-game version is also playing Bone Storm. That's because Bone Storm is not only going to give you a ton of survivability, but also 20% crit chance. Because remember, it's very important, you need to crit every single hit of Bone Spirit. And we're also going to be running the aspect of Shielding Storm, which was just buffed for some reason, and we're going to get 6% of our maximum life as a barrier every time Bone Storm ticks, which is just a ridiculous amount of maximum life. Hardened Bones is probably overkill with this setup, but I still like it just in case the Bone Storm falls off. Remember, this is just a farming build, so we're not trying to play perfect, we just want an easy build that'll crush everything. Now, something to keep in mind with the Banished Lord's Talisman is that even if you don't have a 275 essence pool, you can still proc the Banished Lord's Talisman by using Decrepify. And this ends up actually being an important part of the rotation because of the Rapid Ossification passive. So, let's say you have an essence pool of 265. Well, you can cast one Bone Spirit, cast Decrepify, and then that'll proc the Banished Lords, then cast another Bone Spirit, Decrepify, Bone Spirit, Decrepify, and you're going to be overpowering every Bone Spirit. And this becomes even more important because of a bug feature? I don't know. Who knows with these devs? They don't even know. But the Rapid Ossification passive is going to reduce all of our cooldowns every 100 essence we spend, but for some reason this can only proc once per skill, but it stores the procs, and then those stored procs get spent whenever we cast other skills. So what this means is that whenever we cast Bone Spirit, we consume 275 essence. So Rapid Ossification will proc once, and then it'll store two charges. And then when we cast Decrepifies, it'll spend the stored charges to proc the Rapid Ossification, reducing our cooldowns. Very janky, but it means that even when you're playing efficiently, you're probably going to be looping in these Decrepify casts. So even if you can't quite get to the cap, you can just manually cast Decrepifies in order to artificially get to the essence spent. So what the final gameplay loop will end up looking like is you're going to walk up to a pack, you're going to Decrepify it, and then you're going to use Blood Mist in order to get corpses to target with corpse tendrils. This is going to be your only source of corpse generation, and it's also going to be what you need for Raised Skeleton. But regardless, the main point here is you want to get your corpse tendrils. You're going to make sure your Bone Storm is always up, and after you cast corpse tendrils, you're just going to Bone Spirit followed by 1 to 2 Decrepifies depending on your exact stats, and each of those Bone Spirits is going to overpower. So you use Blood Mist to generate corpses, you corpse tendril those corpses to proc Grasping Veins and to group enemies and all that stuff, and you're going to cast Bone Spirits to obliterate them. And the final thing I want to talk about is a change to the Paragon board going into this season. So Blood Begets Blood used to be 30% increased damage after you pick up some Blood Orbs, but now it's all the way up to 50%. This means playing Blood Orbs is extremely important in any build, including Bone Spirit. So what we're going to be doing is we're actually going to be getting our Vulnerable from Prison, and then we're going to be getting Blood Orbs from our Corpse Tendrils. That's going to allow us to get that 50% damage buff and just do massive amounts of damage. Every attempt Blizzard had to buff blood builds actually ended up buffing Bone Spirit, which is kind of the overall point of the video. Obviously, guys, season's a bit of a mess, but I'm still excited for it. I'm going to have a lot of fun playing Bone Spirit, even though I like other builds more, but I think it'll be fun still to play something new. Bone Spirit hasn't really been as meta as it's going to be this season, so it's exciting, it's fun. And if you want to watch me, I'm going for rank 1. Last season, obviously, I got it and held it for a few weeks, but then I had to move. This season, I'm going even harder. Check out my Twitch, join our Discord that we made if you want to talk Necro stuff, and thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Peace!